hello everyone, and welcome to the Packaging Experience podcast. This segment is actually called the PEP Talk. It's our first episode, and of course, always with me, I got Tom.
Hey Jeff, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Tom. How are you?
Good. My heart rate has dropped a little bit as our tariffs with Canada and
Yeah,
Mexico have been at least kicked down the road, and that's the
yeah,
topic of today, right? So
yeah,
let's get
right.
into some tariffs. Woo.
Yeah. So again, to piggyback off what Tom just said, tariffs is the topic today. Again, in what we call the PEP Talk, this is our first segment, and how they affect the companies in the U.S., how it affects everyone else outside of the U.S., and of course, how us here at Freedom Packaging can help you guys. So let's just go ahead and dive into it, and let's see what we can talk about.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So, the first thing that I kind of want to say is I think we have two different plays going on between the tariffs. I would say we could put Mexico and Canada, the NAFTA
Hmm.
countries, in one bucket, and then China in another. And really, what I think that's going to do is affect the longevity of those tariffs and what we're trying
Right.
to accomplish. Right. So not us, but again, the Trump administration. I think what they're thinking is they just want complete free trade with Canada,
Hmm.
allow their banks to operate. Their banks can operate in the United States. I think he wants our banks to operate there. I think he wants to remove some of the tariffs that they have on some of our agricultural goods like milk and stuff like that, and stop fentanyl coming from the northern border.
Yeah.
Um, and that's fine. I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's, I think, what the goals are. And I'm not going to agree or say yay Trump or boo Trump. I'm just going to give you what our outlook is on what we think it's going to happen and how it's going to impact us. So that's what we have with Canada. And I know not a ton. I think like 98% of the fentanyl is coming from the southern border as opposed to the northern border. But I think it was like 25 kilos or 27 kilos, which is enough to kill a lot of people.
Yeah. Quite a
So
bit.
I think he wants that buttoned up. I know Canada appointed like a fentanyl czar or something like that to try to kick these down the road. So that's good. Mexico is kind of the same deal. There is an automotive competitive nature where I think he's trying to get more automobiles manufactured in the United States. Fentanyl is a bigger deal. Border crossings have gone down dramatically, but I think he wants that to be a united front with Mexico and the United States to decrease border crossings. It doesn't help Mexico. It doesn't help the United States. And the victims of the people that are coming across the border, like what's happening to them as they're trying to get across the border, is horrible. So shutting down that border and making it a true immigration policy that's going through the government and through the correct channels is definitely a goal there. But again, both of those conversations are, between the Trump administration, the Canadian and the Mexican governments, I think are going to lead to a short term. That's the
Agreed.
big takeaway is I don't think it's going to last more than 90 days.
Yeah.
Um, and the fact that I don't have to worry about it for another 27 days makes me happy because this week has been super stressful. Like, what are we going to
Yeah.
do? Some of our biggest customers are obviously agricultural customers down in Mexico, growing in the Leon, Irapuato, Celaya, Guanajuato area, Aguascalientes.
Yeah.
So those guys, I'm like, how are we going to do this? Especially if retaliatory tariffs are going in on the packaging we're sending down there, and then another tariff on the filled packaging, filled with agricultural goods coming back. One of our major vendors is in Canada, so that would be a 25% cost increase across the board. But I hope, honestly, that again, and I do foresee that these will be temporary.
Yeah.
Any
Short
thoughts
growing
on
pains.
the NAFTA side, Jeff?
Say that one more time.
Any thoughts on the tariffs with Mexico and Canada?
No, that was pretty good. It's just like I was saying, short growing pains is something that unfortunately that we're going through, and I don't think it's going to last much longer either. But yeah, again, you hit the nail on the head on that one.
Okay. Okay. Now China's a different story. They're a little bit more of a global adversary as opposed to a global ally. Um, so I think those tariffs are going to be longer term. I think any type of production of goods coming from China, I think they're really going to push to make those be produced in the United States, so that we're creating jobs, creating industries of stuff that people are sourcing from China. I mean,
Yeah.
everything we buy, like our phones, everything, like it seems
Yeah.
like it's coming from China.
Toys, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm expecting a big push from this administration to buy American, right? And maybe we'll start to see that branding on some of those goods. Like, I mean, you see it like 100% made in the USA, but I think they're really going to drum home on that and say, buy American. It helps
Right.
Americans to live, prosper, and create a good life for themselves. So
Yeah.
those
Right.
are kind of the two different buckets that I think are going to happen. So if you are sourcing packaging, I think you know that I went to the MJ BizCon show, which is a huge cannabis show last fall in
Yep.
Vegas. I did get to see Mike Tyson. Side note, that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool, I'm sure.
But a lot of those cannabis companies are sourcing a lot of their packaging from China. So I think that's going to force them to start to look for domestic converters like Freedom Packaging to help them with that. We had some conversations just 2 weeks ago at the American Frozen Fruit Institute about some of the people dealing with the headaches and the supply chain headaches of sourcing from overseas, especially it's hard to get good forecasts from their customers, right? So it's like,
Right.
hey, I need you to, I think we're going to buy 100,000. And then all of a sudden they're like, just kidding. This particular product, whatever it is, this widget is going off the shelves. So now I need 400,000. And they can maybe manufacture the contents of the packaging. But if you're sourcing your packaging from overseas, then you still have to wait 12 to
Yeah, as I say,
14 weeks
lead
to get
time.
it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's
Huge
a
lead time.
huge
That's too
issue.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Lead time, cost. I mean, everything, considering that, I feel like it's probably not going to be as competitive as China, but, that cut down that lead time. I mean, that's a pretty big thing considering that whenever you're going to other companies and you can explain to them, like, hey, I can have this at your front door, in 4 to 6 weeks. That's a pretty big deal compared to, I mean, double that. Imagine cutting that in half to 14, 12 to 14 weeks. That's a huge point in understanding and something that can make someone's, frown turn upside down type situation. So,
Yeah, no doubt. That phrase made my frown turn upside down. What was I going to say? Oh, so you got to think of like the psychology of the consumer today, right? We're such a fast food society now. Amazon, same day delivery, next day delivery.
yeah,
Everybody wants something yesterday, right?
right.
The only way that you're going to go with a longer lead time is if there's a huge price savings to justify that. So what the tariffs would do is if that brings that price savings from, let's say it's 40% more cost effective to source packaging from China, and now it's only 10 to 15, but you're cutting down on your lead time, and you're discussing something with somebody in the same time zone. That's another huge deal. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
I need to talk to our team in China, but I need to be on the phone at midnight, or they need to be on the phone at midnight, and I need to be on the phone at 8 a.m. or whatever the time difference is, depending on where you're at. That creates an issue too, right? So it's like,
for
all right,
sure.
how am I going to get in touch with this person? I have an emergency, but it's 3 a.m. in China. So it pushes a long lead time even longer when if you're trying to make changes to art or to the bag or the structure or anything like that, you have to wait a day and a half and figure out a time that everybody can get on the phone to make those changes. So that is going to be an interesting play, and I think it's
Yeah,
going to
I
benefit
agree.
companies like Freedom Packaging and most domestic suppliers of packaging, which is
Right.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, and considering a lot of things I mean, overseas is not necessarily the most reliable, way to get your packaging either, considering depending on the time of year as well, you got to think about rough seas. If it's coming through plane, I mean, I'm sure it's different through plane, but the majority of the time it's over huge ship. So,
Yeah,
again, cut that time in half. And like Tom was saying, if you buy in bigger bulk, of course you have your, certain days of warehousing as well that we also offer. And it just kind of benefits you in the long run. So,
yeah, no doubt. The 180 days can help us kind of kick tariffs down the road or kick price increases down the road as long as our
yeah.
customers are taking full advantage.
Right. And like
Um,
you said, no art changes or anything like that. So,
Yep. I mean, imagine if you have a first production run of a packaging and you're sourcing from APJ and it's costing you to wait another 6 to 8 weeks, and then you get it and there's a mistake on the packaging. Now
yeah.
you got to go back, fight with your vendor, over whose fault it was that the mistake happened. Are you going to get credit for that or not? And then you have to make the corrections, do another production run, and wait another 14 weeks. So there's a lot of things to consider with a domestic supplier that I think bring a lot of value. And I'm not saying that just because we are a domestic supplier, but you just have to look at managing supply chain, and having a much shorter turnaround time to get product in the door makes managing supply chain so much easier, especially when it's hard to get good forecasts. So it's like, all right, all of a sudden this is going nuts. I need a ton more, but I'm not going to be able to supply that. And we're going to be back ordered for 14 weeks, as opposed to a domestic supplier. Maybe you're not back ordered at all if you're keeping a good amount of safety stock, and vice versa with the 180 days warehousing. Let's say you're projecting something to sell 500,000 units a year, but it's only 200,000. Well, you still have 6 months to go through that inventory. So we're playing both sides of missing on the forecast miss by having a short lead time and offering 180 days warehousing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely just like that topic or that statement we made in the beginning is, how can we help you? And, this is definitely an unfortunate event of growing pains for everyone that is dealing with this. And we want to be able to be there for you. And, we want to be that Cinderella shoe for you. So.
Yeah, it should fit just perfectly, right?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, thank you guys for the time. I do want to invite, like, if you want to have a conversation, a strategic conversation of different ways that we can help you navigate the tariff waters, and help you with your supply chain. Love to have that. Reach out to Freedom Packaging, reach out to me, reach out to Jeff, and I'd love to sit down and carve out 30 minutes to an hour and talk about all the different possible scenarios and action plans to get that. Because the best way to do it is the Boy Scout approach, right? Be prepared, always be prepared. So we can go through scenarios of, let's say it is long-term tariffs and we're way off with Canada and Mexico. What do we do? Let's say China tariffs do go away. What do we do? So we have a lot of different scenarios that we could go through and work up a plan for each scenario. And that way we're not caught off guard. It's like, okay, let's implement this plan that we put in place a month ago. We foresaw this might happen, and then we're prepared, and we're helping our customers out. They're helping their customers out, and we're creating a good customer experience, regardless of stuff that's outside of our control. So, not that I'm the most religious person, but it's always the serenity prayer, right? So it comes down to,
sure.
There are things outside of our control. Certainly, what's going on in the Trump administration, I have no pull there. So, unfortunately, because I would tell them to stop it.
Yeah. Little ruler slap on the hand for him.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. This was a great little short segment. Again, this is what we call the PEP Talk. It's abbreviated of the packaging experience. We'll be doing this pretty often now. We enjoy reaching out to you guys, talking to you guys, engaging with you guys, and we also always want to hear from you guys, your opinions. Your opinions do matter. And again, thank you so much. This was great. And we're going to continue segments going forward.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, like Jeff said, this is going to be something we're going to start to do on the regular basis outside of our longer, extended, just standard packaging experience podcast. We're going to want to start putting some material out there on like twice a week or something like that. We're going to come up with some sort of cadence that hopefully works out well.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. And again, we're not professionals by all means. So if we are wrong, tell us. We don't mind admitting that. And we do pride ourselves on that as well. So, but anyways, we do appreciate you all. We were looking forward to doing more of these and engaging with you guys. And hopefully we see you guys all soon. Talk with you soon as well.
That sounds awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Have a great day.
Yep. Have a great day.